Envolve Audio makes the Surround Master, a device that vintage and modern multi-channel nerds treat like the second coming of Christ. My problem with it is simple: the price versus what you actually get. Now, a company is free to charge whatever they want for a product, just as much as you are free to click off this video and stick your dick through a super audio CD. And look, $700 in the audiophile world isn't pants-shitting money, but $700 for what's actually under the hood is insane. Now, to be fair, I'm basing this hardware analysis on their official $170 evaluation board. But let's be real, Envolve Audio is a tiny boutique operation. They don't have the massive R&D capital to engineer a custom ASIC, or streamline this into a single high-density chip. It's safe to assume the fancier units use a similar, established layout and signal path. And what is that layout? Sitting right in the center is a Texas Instruments TAS3204, a legacy, 100 MHz fixed-point DSP chip anyone can buy off DigiKey for under $20. Surrounding it is an array of 12 dirt-cheap NE5532 op-amps and passive RC networks. You're paying $700 for a pretty metal box with maybe $100 worth of components and a 1970s-style analog buffer tree. You could host open-source, tri-band Vario Matrix-style scripts on a $40 refurb Dell Optiplex with a cheap multi-channel sound card and get identical performance. In fact, QS and SQ decoding scripts are out there on GitHub, and unlike a locked box, you're free to write your own, depending if you have the computer literacy beyond that of your typical quadraphonic quad member. Therefore, their patented decoding isn't groundbreaking IP. The DSP is just doing basic matrix math across pre-split analog bands, and they literally applied a Gaussian blur to their own block diagram to make it look like classified code. Meanwhile, the owner posts publicly on forums complaining about $650,000 in bad debt and getting evicted by their landlord. If you're underwater by hundreds of thousands, maybe stop charging $700 for a niche box and price it realistically so you can actually move inventory. Now boomers are begging for HDMI on the next iteration. Why? HDMI is a proprietary standard. Slapping an HDMI port means licensing the port and passing the cost on to an already expensive unit. If you're a vintage quad guy, you want analog RCAs anyway. If you want a stereo to surround synthesizer for a modern layout, literally every AV receiver built in the last 20 years has Dolby Surround or DTS Neural X built in for free. At the end of the day, matrixed surround sound is a dead end. Modern mixing engineers working in object-based spatial audio like Dolby Atmos aren't trying to squeeze multi-channel sound down into two-phase shifted analog tracks. The underlying principle of using a DSP to handle the complex, on-the-fly matrix logic isn't a terrible idea and certainly nothing new, but charging $700 and claiming you've reinvented the wheel in surround sound decoding is a stretch.